being a mom is not your whole identity, and being a special needs mom is not my whole identity either. But I think that it makes me more of everything. Like, it has made me
Mhm.
better at everything in my life.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. I have been so excited for you all to hear my next guest story. This is Kortnee. What made Kortnee's story so special is just how unique her family dynamic is and how unique her journey has been. And I love her realness, her rawness, her honesty around her parenting journey and what her family has really gone through. This is such a touching story. So let's get into Kortnee's bio. She is a 36-year-old Florida based architect, entrepreneur, wife, and mother whose days are a mix of blueprints, business calls, therapy appointments, and bedtime routines. She co owns a high end residential architecture firm, while her husband Hector runs a landscape design and installation company, both operating out of their home while raising two young children and two dogs. Her oldest, William, is 7 years old, nonverbal, and lives with a rare genetic condition that brings epilepsy, autism, and developmental delays. He uses an AAC device, sign language, and every tool possible to communicate. Her youngest, Sophia, is nearly 2, and together the kids keep life busy with the reality of two children in diapers and milestones that look very different from most families. As an only child navigating ADHD herself, Kortnee has learned to balance the hard and the hopeful, living in the tension between embracing what is and holding on to what could be. With humor, grit, and faith, she brings honesty to the challenges of therapies, insurance, and caregiving while reminding us that love and determination inside our own four walls are what truly shape a family's story. Without further ado, it is my honor to bring you Kortnee. Hello, welcome, Kortnee, to It's a Circus podcast. I am so happy you're here.
Hi, Elsa. Thank you for having me today.
Of course. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the first question I ask everybody, but what is
Okay.
your mamahood stats? Who are your kiddos? How long have you been a mom for? And have you always wanted to be a mother?
Yes, I have always wanted to be a mother since I was probably um, old enough to remember, like just a baby girl. I remember always wanting to be a mother. Um, but I didn't really like imagine what that would look like, I don't think. And thank God I didn't, because it looks very different for me than for maybe most parents. But I do have two kids. One is 6 years old. He's going to be seven next week, actually. And that's my son, William. And then my daughter, Sophia, is 19 months. Um, it's hard to keep track when it's at that months stage, right?
I know.
Um, but one of them, my oldest, has special needs, and
Mhm.
so navigating that is I guess what I mean when I say it looks much different than maybe I would have imagined if I would have like
Yeah.
dreamt of what it looks like to be a parent. Because I think that it's very, very different than I could have imagined. Those are my
Yeah.
those are my lovely stats, and we are done. Two is enough.
To and through.
Yeah.
That was my motto too.
Yes. Yeah, you got them done a lot quicker than me. We have a pretty big age gap. Uh, This, I guess, so he's gonna be seven, she's a year and a half, so that's what, like 5.5 years or something in between. And
Mhm.
I think for today's like standards, if you were to compare what a lot of people do, that's a pretty big age gap. And we definitely thought we would have them closer together. But after we had it first with special needs, it became really scary, honestly, and we had to just like figure out, is this something we even are prepared to do again?
Wow.
Because when we had our first, we had never thought like, oh, there's a chance we could have a child with special needs. But then before having a second, that's really all I could think about. And so I had to prepare myself like, not only am I willing to have another child and take care of another child, but if that child were to also have special needs, like what would that do to us? So we had to be like in a place where we felt like we could handle two challenging kids, and thank God we ended, having a typical child the second time. It's been a lot easier, and now I get why people have so many babies because it's a lot easier to have a child with special needs. Anyway,
Well, I love that you're sharing that, Kortnee, and I think that's one of the reasons that I am very honored to have you on today is that I would love for you to speak to what it is like to be a parent to a child with special needs, um, and really kind of take us through that process. So, if you could kind of start from the beginning of your son's life and kind of spark of, moment where that happened and really kind of take us through that journey. We'd love to hear that story. So what did you guys plan for him?
so we didn't. So he was born. We had a normal pregnancy. He was
Mm-hmm.
born, no complications, and really we didn't know anything. Oh, the team of doctors didn't know anything was going on until he was about, I'd say, like 8 months. And really at that point too, we got a lot of pushback from doctors kind of saying like, oh, he'll catch up. He's got a lot of like, he's adorable, he's perfect. He's like a really handsome little boy. So I think that in many ways he like, um, people kind of looked past some of his challenges.
Mm.
Um, but basically, when he was 8 months, I was like at mommy and me groups with all the other kids that were 8 months, and he wasn't even sitting. And kids were like, there was one kid that was walking,
Oh my God.
and I was like, I was like, hmm, this like something's going on here.
Mm.
Um, but he was always like he didn't look like anything was like medically
Mm.
wrong.
Mm.
And he was generally just a very happy little baby. And we saw him as like, I remember I used to like say that he just liked to be cozy and snuggly.
Mm.
But really it was more of a whole body neurological thing that was like preventing him from being independent with his own body, with his own limbs, trying to roll, trying to sit, trying to do the things that other children were doing. And so, like, as a, I'm an only child. My husband has siblings, but he grew up as an only child. Like, in terms of his childhood, his siblings were in a different household, and so we didn't necessarily have a really good reference point for what milestones to look for. So
Right.
really the only thing I had was what I was seeing in these mom groups. Um, and I also had made a choice like early on in my pregnancy and in mothering that like I was going to ask people for advice, and I was going to, take what came to me and adapt it for myself, but I wasn't going to like overly research anything. And so I,
Yeah.
I really just didn't have a lot of reference points. So when I started like seeing all these other kids doing these things, I was a little bit concerned and started to bring it up to the doctors. Um, and then eventually we ended up getting some referrals to various specialists where the doctor was like, okay, yeah, there might be something going on. You can have like some evaluations done. And we got him evaluated, and it was from a free resource locally. And they basically said, okay, he's like borderline. He'll probably catch up. You can intervene with like therapies now, or not. It's up to you.
Hmm.
And so I had just started, not just started a business, but my business was fairly new in conception. I'm an architect, and I've had a lot going on with that. plus I was a new mom, and I was kind of just like, okay, I don't really know that I need to add something else to my plate. Like the idea of going to therapies, doing all these things, like just didn't seem like something I could take on if I didn't need to.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, well, we're just not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so fast forward a little bit, he ended up sitting up just before his first birthday. Um, in comparison to my daughter, who sat up like 4 months or something. Like, I don't know. It's just,
Wow.
it's now looking back and forth. I'm like, wow, this is like what it's supposed to be. That's crazy.
Right.
And then he, just in terms of milestones, like he didn't crawl until he was like, it was like 18 months or
Okay.
17 and a half months. And then he didn't walk until he was almost 2 years old. And I remember thinking, like, before he started walking, like, he might, like, that was kind of like where we were at mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So truly, like, every single like development has just been a miracle in a sense.
Right.
And I'll get into kind of like why that is, but he's actually really, really well off for like the condition that he has, which we found out we ended up getting genetic testing done. It was a very long journey because
Oh my gosh.
we he basically so rewind. He basically started having seizures
Oh my
um,
gosh.
like we're like, all right, something's going on. We're starting to get referrals, but we didn't really know what was going on. And then he randomly started having seizures at age maybe like 20, 21 months. And he had his first one with my mom,
Oh.
and I wasn't there. And my mom is the sweetest person in the world. She called me, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. We heard paramedics in the background, and
Oh.
basically he had turned blue in her arms and like
Oh my
completely
god.
just had this pretty massive seizure event. And fast forward, it ended up being a point where the doctors told us, like, all right, it was febrile seizure, it was caused by a fever. Really, no chance it's going to happen again, or minimal chance, like, not a big risk, like, just move on with your life. And so, like, we didn't really think anything of it. I had no experience with other people having seizures. I wasn't there for it. I know it was traumatic in general, but especially for my mom. And then, like, a couple months later, he just had like these weird events that, in retrospect, I know were seizures, but at the time I didn't realize.
Ugh.
And then one day I was home and he was like four at home and one on the way to the hospital, one in the hospital.
Ugh.
So the whole thing. And so um, we ended up being in the hospital. He had one while hooked up to a machine, and his oxygen levels had dropped to 30%, which is super, super, super low. They were like prepared to lifeline him to
Ugh.
children, and they ended up giving him an anti-seizure medicine that he responded to immediately. And so from the age of like, it was before his second birthday, maybe he was like 22 months until he was like, for the following 2 years, he was on this anti-seizure medicine, which caused a whole series of complications in and of itself. But um, we found out the first thing we found out about his medical journey was basically that he was epileptic. And so you can be epileptic and just have it be the only issue, or it could be kind of a symptom of something bigger. And so we went on this journey of figuring out, like, is there something causing this? And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that it was developmentally delayed otherwise made the doctors think, like, yes, something else is causing this, and we have to figure out. But it was during COVID,
Oh
which
my god. Of
limited what we
course.
did, right? Or
Yes.
at least, yeah. So getting into doctors was like impossible. But the fact that he had had those seizure events kind of like fast tracked us on the neurology department at least. And we found this amazing neurologist that really just helped us navigate the testing in a way with insurance that was like the proper way to get us there quickest, which
Mm-hmm.
is just like this whole other thing, like navigating insurance. Um, but in the end, we ended up doing what's called a whole exome sequencing test, which is like testing his DNA against my husband and mine. And we were told that there was only like a third chance that we would get an answer. And so we ended up paying for it out of pocket because we didn't want to wait for insurance because we felt like it was like really necessary to happen. And insurance was taking like, been like 6 months. They still hadn't approved it. And we are like, we're just going to pay. So we paid for it and then we waited a couple months and actually moved into this house in this neighborhood where we both live during that time. And I just like happened to accidentally log on to the website where they like put his medical tests and everything. It must have been like the day they posted it or something. And so I looked at it like before they had a chance to call me, that I saw like a result basically that
Wow.
I couldn't understand. But immediately had a follow-up call and basically found out that he had a genetic mutation on a gene called the EEF1A2 gene, and everyone has two copies of it, but one of his copies is mutated. Um, and come to find out, it's like right now, I think there's less than 300 kids in the world that have the diagnosis. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's all there are in the world, but it's fairly new in terms of a gene that has been identified on this test. And so there's, when we first got the diagnosis, like I think the oldest child that had a similar diagnosis was like 15 or 16 years old. But since then, there's been like older people that have gone back and gotten tested and found out that they have it. So there's, people in their 30s or whatever that have it, but we don't have like barely any reference point about like
Wow.
a big sampling of what this could look like in
Sure.
adulthood, basically,
Sure.
because it's so newly tested.
Mm.
Um, so like we mourned. We were not
Kortnee.
like it was a very low year emotionally, mourning like this, accepting that we had a child that had something going on with him, um, and that it wasn't something he could catch up with, and learning what that could look like, what it does look like in other kids with his condition, um, and kind of like deciding how we were going to navigate that as a family. We did, thank God we learned that it wasn't something the husband or I passed down, because I think that that might have just like, I think it would have destroyed like our just like our fight almost. Like I think it would have really impacted our ability to process like, what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so taking that out of it and realizing like, okay, it was nothing that I did. It was nothing that my husband did. It was just something that happened. Um, and understanding that we were very blessed in that we got pregnant very easily,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that is, I'm learning now is just such a blessing. That all we could think was like, William is here
Mm-hmm.
for like
Right.
he was like chosen to be on this earth, and so
Yeah.
we need to do everything we can to just like make him the best version of himself. um and so I started to see very quickly that, okay, there's like a couple hundred kids in the world that have this, and we're all kind of on this Facebook group together, and there's like one website about it, and there's very little information, but I saw there's a huge spectrum of just like abilities.
Okay.
It didn't seem like people had like they didn't regress, so they weren't gaining skills and then losing them. but there was a big chunk of the population that had this that weren't gaining the skills in the first place.
Okay.
Um, and so it seems like there's a pretty big category that have major gross motor, fine motor, um, and speech kind of issues across the board. Um, but there are several children, unfortunately, that are wheelchair bound,
Mm-hmm.
G tube fed, nonverbal, um, and so. But then there were kids that were walking, and there were kids that were talking, and so I just basically said, we can't assume that he's not going to do anything. And so we just have to like throw every single resource we can. And so right now he's still nonverbal. He's about to be 7, but he understands a lot of it. And I think that he will talk. Um, it's just been a slow journey.
Yeah.
And he does walk and he runs and he can't jump, but like whatever. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny. We used to do like brags and drags at one of the moms groups,
Mm-hmm.
and like I remember at one point in the phase where like we were kind of navigating what's going on. Like one of the moms was talking about, how her child wasn't jumping yet, and I was like, oh my god, my son isn't even like sitting up, and like I went in a car that day. And I just cried, and like I got to a point like I couldn't go anymore because it was just like
No.
comparison is just the thief of joy, right? And there's one thing about community, but when you're in this space of like feeling like you're navigating a situation that's different than everyone else's, it became too hard for me to like go to those things, and so then I became really isolated because I'm a pretty social person, and so I was enjoying that, and then but there was too much for me to go to, and so I stopped going, and it was just a lot. Um, so, in summary, he has a genetic condition that affects every part of his body neurologically. That particular gene is in like every single like part of your body, and so it affects the brain, the muscles, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it causes epilepsy, and the epileptic episodes can look different for each kid, but it does seem like it's consistently something that kind of is to be expected with these kiddos. And then we recently, after like a 2-year battle of trying to get a diagnosis, got him diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum, which was a whole nother journey. It was really challenging to navigate, but it allowed us to get services for him that
Right.
is now, just last week, he went number 2 on the potty for the first time. So um, that was a result of getting the autism diagnosis, which allowed us to have ABA therapy, which is like a behavioral therapy, which is super controversial in and of itself. So anyway, that's my word vomit about William.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, thank you for sharing all that you did, because that is when you're talking about that feeling of comparison and alone, and being able to sit here today and share that, I know for a fact someone will really benefit from that sharing and story. So
Right.
thank you. And
Like we had to grieve this life
yes,
that we thought he would have. My husband especially, but we just started to realize that, it's okay to grieve that life and still love the life we have.
mm,
And so that was really, really hard to learn, um, and to like feel okay with grieving something. I mean, he's here. How can we, what, like, learning that it was okay to grieve just an idea of a life, and like I said, still love him and love the life that we have and accept it was like a really, really big challenge that we felt super alone in navigating.
So, when you're talking about that type of a grief, and obviously I'm sure it comes from, you're seeking answers, does that, is that something that you two spoke about? Was it just like, how did you handle that? And is that something that you guys still deal with today?
Yeah, honestly, there's like waves of depression that happen between both of us and
Yeah.
just like feeling low. Um, I think that the biggest thing is that we have learned to navigate our relationship as like we can't both be low at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. So, if just like that feeling of a seesaw, like if someone else is really low, the other person like just has to be high. And that's the only way we can help pull each other out of it. And there are times when we're both like doing really great and feeling really good. And there's honestly, since we had our daughter, um, the balance in our life has been something that we didn't think we could ever like get to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a lot easier to navigate the challenges with William um, after having a child in the household that is easier to navigate or more typical to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she has her own challenges too, but
Right.
they're just more manageable. And it also takes the pressure off of like mm, our challenges with William because it like focuses us elsewhere. So like the two biggest things have been just like recognizing where each other are at in the process of parenting and in that particular day, that particular week, month, doing lots and lots of check-ins. Um, and then allowing us to open our hearts again to like being parents a second time and allowing that journey to unfold has really been a big, big positive thing in the last 2 years.
Wow. How did you know that you guys were ready to try again?
So I wanted to wait until he could talk
Mm-hmm.
before we tried again because I had this idea that like I mean, of course, like you had two kids super close
Mm-hmm.
together, which you, of obviously weren't able to necessarily talk to your oldest about like, oh, you're about to have a sibling in a way that like he really understood, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because William was older, I felt I felt like it was unfair to him to
Mm-hmm.
just like disrupt his life and turn it upside down with
Mm-hmm.
the sibling. And I didn't know if we were capable, um, because caring for him is a very physical, like it's just very physical. We have to lift him a lot. We have to move, like be up and down a lot. We have to he went through a lot of aggression where he, I have short hair because he would pull my hair and I'm starting to
Mm-hmm.
grow it now because he's not doing that. But just like he's not potty trained. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like having a baby that um, also is super independent and wants to do everything on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought like, okay, if he can just talk and understand, then it'll be easier to navigate. But then in my mind, he was going to talk by 3, and he was going to talk by 4, and he was going to talk by 5. And when he wasn't there, we just said, we just have to do this. And so I don't really know what changed, but we went from like, we can't handle this, we can't handle this, we can't handle this to like, we have to have another kid, just like pretty quickly. And then,
Yeah.
um, I don't know, we must just be super fertile because we don't. pretty easily once we decided again. But you know that's a blessing in and of itself. We definitely don't take
And
that.
so how has the I know, I love it. How has the relationship been between the two kiddos now that
They
William is a big
are
brother?
amazing now today, but that was really scary because
Mhm.
my son doesn't understand boundaries
Mhm.
and he expresses himself often with his hands, which could be pinching, pushing,
Mhm.
grabbing, hitting. Like there were there were times when my daughter's so she's just like she amazes me every day. But like she is the perfect match for him.
Mhm.
Like at 18 months, she's like has no fear. Um, and we had to be very, very like cautious and like physically be between them for
Mhm.
the first, like 14 months
Mhm.
before I would feel comfortable going into the next room for a
Wow.
second to use them
Mhm.
and without fear that he would like hurt.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was really because you constantly have to be open. And there were a few instances where we were like within arm's reach, but he like was just so quick. He would do like what I would call like a drive by, where he just like would run by her and just like grab her by the ponytail and like, pull her down.
Mhm.
Um, he like almost pulled her out of her high chair once. And none of it is like malicious. It's just like
Right.
he has a sensory need where he reached like he almost he doesn't know that he's putting her in danger.
Right.
But I don't know what changed. But in the last, I don't know, 4 months, he hasn't. Well, I mean, I do know what changed. He's gone into different therapies, and he
Mhm.
hadn't made a teacher at school, and um, we started leaning into the iPad as a way
Mhm.
of just like giving him something that could keep him safe and happy and distracted. And
Mhm.
that was like something that was really hard for us to like accept because, people are constantly like, no screen time, this, it's not good for them. And so we like really fought that whole idea of screen time, tablet, iPad.
Right.
But in the last 4 to 6 months, probably, we've just like realize that it's different for him. Like it's a necessary tool
Mhm.
um, to just allow us to live a normal life and allow him to go places without having attention, be safe in a room with his sister without like hurting him. Um, and we still have to have boundaries around it, but those things combined, plus the fact that she's getting older and she's like able to run away, you know, all of those things together has made it a little bit safer. But there's just been a lot of physical challenges related to just like safety concerns.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was I was really scared for a while because I learned of a few parents that were in similar situations that had opted to basically put their children in a, like a home,
Mhm.
like not inside their own walls for the safety of their other children.
Wow.
And I learned of that I think when I was pregnant. And a couple families, and of course, everyone has their own reasons for it, and I'm
Mhm.
certain it was the right thing for them. But my husband and I just decided like we don't want to be in that position,
Oh,
and so we put a lot on ourselves to like
right.
figure out how can we get it, how can we navigate this in a way that our daughter is safe
Hmm.
without isolating our son. And it's really, we're finally getting, I don't know that I have any advice for it, but um, other than just like one day at a time, and like it's mentally and physically exhausting. But at least for us in our situation, it did get better just with time.
Hmm.
I think it just continues to get better every day. And so he hugs her and loves her, and she'll come home from school and they'll run to each other, and it's like really super cute. No,
Now,
yeah,
right now, today.
yeah.
um, okay, so there's like a thread that I'd love for you to kind of pull tight for us that you keep talking about. And I think it's especially for you and your husband and having to navigate kind of the medical system. And you're talking about like different therapies that you've been trying, and some are more successful than others, medication, different tactics.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Like, where do you go for help? Where do you kind of draw the line with, hey, this is actually what's best for my son? How does that all work together?
So that's the thing, right? Like when you're going into parenthood, you have all of these people throwing advice at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you almost have to like dodge some of it because you're like, I just can't do all this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with a special needs child, it's in my experience, it's been the opposite. Like, I'm like, hello, is anyone out there? Where the heck is the advice? And I have to
Right.
dig for it. And once you dig for it, you can find it. But I regard myself as a really intelligent person that can basically navigate pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I have found it to be the hardest in navigating what resources are out there, what therapies exist, which ones are good, how, how do we pay for them? Do we pay out of pocket? Do we pay it through insurance? Are there, um, ones that are free? Are there ones that we can get like resources for? Um, navigating the time commitment. Like, I own my own business. I work from home. My husband owns his own business. He works from home. And thank God we do, because I literally don't know how anyone would do it working for someone where like the amount of times we have to just like be off or bring him places or do all these things, whether it's doctor's appointments. We're in a position now where most of his therapies occur at school, but up until he was 3 years old, that wasn't the case. And so, like, navigating kind of which ones can we physically fit into our schedule.
Right.
How much can he actually handle in a day where
Mm-hmm.
it's too much, you know, you want to give it, we wanted to give him as many therapies as possible to help him, but is there a line where that's too much?
Right.
Also realizing that for my mental health, it's not helpful for me to be in the room during
Mm-hmm.
therapy, because it sucks to see your kids struggle, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. And if you just see like all of the struggles every single day in that like really concentrated therapy room, then it gets very, very discouraging, oppressive, like just all the things. And
Oh
so
man.
I realized like pretty quickly, like, okay, I'm not going to be able to like be the parent that's in the room. So it's going to have to be something that's like done outside of me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
learning that there was free resources for speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, but that the free one isn't what's called clinical therapy, and it's like something where they're like there to teach the parent, but not to actually, like, they're not allowed to put hands on the child,
Oh.
um, and not being told that, and needing to discover that after being like in those therapies for a while and then being like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't what I want. Like I want something super hands-on. And okay, how do we get that? And then navigating like the school system and trying to figure out we were we were so blessed to get him into a school locally that is called the Lily School through Easter Seals as like the umbrella company, and they are a developmentally inclusive school that starts. I think they started like 6 months old, and they go up to like age 5. He was there a little bit longer because he got like an extension, but they were just a godsend because they place the child based on their developmental abilities, not on age. And so
Wow.
he we were just super lucky to even find that in the first place. I don't even know how I found it. And then we got in because I'm just like, I won't take no for an answer basically. And so there was a
Right.
wait list. And so then I would call like every single week. And then
Of
finally I
course.
called one day and they're like, actually, someone just dropped out. So since you called, um, and so we ended up getting him in, and then he had therapies at that school, which was wonderful. But then he kind of aged out of it, and so trying to figure out right now he's going to go to potentially a mainstream school or is he going to go to a special school? Yeah, we ended up landing on our local school, which was an incredible place that I wasn't expecting to like, honestly. But in like an open mind, and they have just this incredible program that's labeled for um, kids on the spectrum. It's called an ASD classroom, and the teacher there teaches kids from kindergarten through 5th grade. And so there's like
Wow.
a room full of like 8 kids, but they all have varying degrees of challenges. Some of them are verbal, some of them are nonverbal, but the teacher is just incredible. But
Wow.
then, so, there's that. And then there's just this this one therapy, which is like, it's called ABA therapy. It's
Yes.
specifically targeted for behaviors.
Okay.
And what I learned is that insurance basically doesn't want to pay for it unless your child has an autism diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, whatever. Um, I'll pay for it out of pocket. Well, no, you won't, because you'll go broke. Because my son, for instance, he had a behavioral plan where they determined he needed 35 hours a week.
Wow.
And I mean, depending on if it's like the main therapist or like the, what level of therapist it is, it could be anywhere from $150 an hour to like $250 an hour. And that adds up pretty quickly. I mean, you just,
Yeah.
and it's not like a short term thing either. It's long term thing. So it's like, okay, well, we really can't do this. So
Right.
how do I find a way to actually like, I don't want to give him a diagnosis that he doesn't need,
Of
but
course.
at the same time, and I don't know that I have the fight in me to fight insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So tried to fight insurance, and going down that path, basically ended up, it was like a 2-year battle, but we ended up getting an evaluation. We had like several evaluations, but basically he was untestable for a while. Um, just because he developmentally wasn't able to show what he did or didn't know. And so like
Wow.
it was unclear if he was incapable of things or if he was just being stubborn or
Mm-hmm.
what it was. But he had a lot of repetitive behaviors and he had a lot of things that were like ticking off the checklist, but he wasn't necessarily checking off all of the boxes, especially as it related to like the social aspects of um, being on the spectrum. And so what ended up happening is the psychologist that was testing him, that he was presenting differently because of his overarching genetic condition. So even though he wasn't checking all of the boxes, he was checking off enough of them that, especially as it relates to behavior,
Mhm.
competitive behaviors, aggression, those types of things, that he ended up qualifying for that diagnosis back in April. And then between April and June 1st, that's how long it took us to actually like get set up. So we June 1st we started, and within 2 weeks he was like listening better, not throwing himself on the ground, not being aggressive, sitting on the potty, like trying to go to the bathroom. Like I said, he just went number two on the potty for the first time last week. Like just amazing things. And so, yeah, I
Wow.
guess it hasn't even been a month yet, right?
Yeah.
Can't date
Wow.
in like 22 days um,
Mhm.
of since we started, and not even 22 days of therapy, it's only 5 days a week. And so I'm like, okay, it was worth it to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's one thing like I didn't expect is like how much I would have to advocate for him
Mm.
and how much I would have to fight and navigate the system and like
Mhm.
figure out. I mean, he has something like it's a totally new language. Like all of these things, I'm trying to be careful not to say words that listeners might not fully grasp if they're not in this world. But like he has an IEP, which is an individual education program, and like I didn't, I had never even heard of that. I didn't know what
No.
that was. And
Yeah.
so, it's basically just like this document that in our case, um, the first one that he had going into kindergarten, um, took like 12 hours of Zoom calls with a team of teachers and therapists to like fully complete and get to a point where it was like ready to present as his like picture of education to be successful
Mhm.
at the school. So it's just like and the emotional weight that happens
Mm.
dealing with that is like, okay, I'm navigating that and I'm navigating my business and I'm like trying to like be a human being. That's the hardest part, right? The human being part. Like I can do all the other things, but then it's like, oh yeah, you have to take care of yourself too.
Well,
Um,
that was a part of my question is how do you? Because obviously the mental load, the physical
yeah.
load, all of it. What do you do?
The only thing I really do consistently, like for myself, is a monthly facial. Like
Mhm.
that's like I don't say that's the only thing. That's like the thing that I decided was because like self care. What is that, right?
Right.
I it can be defined in so many ways, but
Yes.
I have health conditions of my own, so a lot of like the physical like running, going to the gym, like things like that are physically hard for me just because
Mhm.
I have a connective tissue disorder and like it's
Mhm.
just hard for me to be on my feet sometimes and navigate different things like that. And so like self-care for me really is more about like relaxing things.
Mhm.
Um but I don't necessarily feel like I can fit into my life like long appointments that are like regular. So like
Mhm.
getting my hair done, things that would be like more bi-weekly or more often than once a month. It's just like I I dread it more than look
Mhm.
forward. So I found for me that like a once a month relaxing appointment is like the thing I need to look forward to each month. And like I also and I'm just gonna be super vulnerable. I have a skin picking condition as well,
Mhm.
which is kind of a symptom of ADHD and other things, anxiety, but having those facial appointments like helps me to not pick at my skin too, because it's like,
I love it.
I don't want to be embarrassed when I go there and somebody goes to my
Right.
face. So it's actually helped me quite a bit in that. That's like the big thing I do for myself. And it's not a big thing, it's a little thing, but it's the consistent thing.
Right. Yeah, and the fact that it can kind of serve multiple purposes is like the
I
best.
usually fall asleep during it too, so it's like I take a
Perfect.
nap,
Exactly.
blowing face after, and yeah. It-
Ah. Yeah, I mean, those types. And I think, something that you're talking to right now, Courtney, is, and I just want to put it out there, is self care can look different for everyone.
mm,
And you did a beautiful job explaining why that particular thing is perfect for you. I think what is so interesting is sometimes people really downplay, like, oh, self care isn't like just, getting your nails done or whatever. But for some people, it actually is truly that. Not to say that it's anything, but putting yourself first in whatever capacity, no matter what it looks like, is important.
I was finding, I mean, it was actually hard for me to get to a point where I didn't feel guilty going once a
Mm,
month to the facial. Like, that sounds crazy, right? Like, but literally, I, yeah, I think before both of my kids were like in full-time daycare or school,
hmm
like, it just, my husband is like the most wonderful dad and
hmm
everything with them. But I don't know. I don't know why. I just felt guilty.
hmm
Um, Nothing that he put on me. It was just like a personal
hmm
thing that I would just feel like, okay, well, I need to make sure that he's getting the same amount of time
mm,
himself and like, but that shouldn't be on me. That should be on
no.
him.
Yes.
Um, and he goes to the gym as his like outlet for himself. But like it kind of took him a while to figure out that that was the thing that he needed to do to like help his
hmm
mental health. And he does a lot of meditating and like um more like reflective things than I
hmm
do. And I get I don't know, we definitely get recharged in different ways for sure. I think both because male female, but also just like our personality differences.
Totally.
Um, and yeah, it's but yeah, like feeling like, okay, it's okay if we're not like balance doesn't necessarily need to be the same. Like as long as
Ugh.
he feels full and I feel full, if it's a different amount of time, then it's okay. And I think that was like a struggle I was having too. Like, oh, am I taking too much for myself or not enough? Or um yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I think it is a really hard thing to find out. And you're right. That like struggle of like guilt for your other partner is something to work through. And it isn't really discussed as part of the whole picture, but there is this moment of like, okay, am I going above and beyond because of some preconceived thing? And you even said like he didn't put any of that on you. It's you
Mhm.
overcompensating and like overthinking. I totally understand that. Okay, I would love to know for you, what are some common misconceptions for kiddos with special needs or as parents with special needs?
So, um, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's a misconception, but like sometimes I think like I'm doing something wrong, but really it's just hard. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just like that hard to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like we have a unique situation too where my child doesn't look like he has special needs in public. So, for instance, he has a handicap tag, and it is really, really hard for me to use that without feeling guilt, even today. And we've had it for like maybe 5 years now. Um, because he's unsafe in a parking lot. Because sometimes he has days where he refuses to walk
Mm-hmm.
because and it's under his name. So like, I can only use it when he's in the car. And I try to only use it when like we actually need it. or I do only use it when we actually need it. Like if he's having a day where he's like, fine to walk, I won't choose to go into a handicapped parking spot. But like even when he's having a day where he is unsafe to walk or unwilling to walk, and I choose to use a handicap place card and go into the grocery store or go anywhere, I feel super guilty because I feel like people are looking at me like, what is she like? They're not disabled. Like he's not in a wheelchair. He's
Mm-hmm.
not, it just, it, I think that a misconception is that um, literally anyone we look at with a disability, and even if they are presenting at that moment as not having one, it could be something that comes and goes, and that's something I've learned with my own journey too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have flare-ups or not, and like I don't I don't know where that comes from because I don't find myself ever judging other people. Like if I see them, utilizing a handicapped parking spot or
Right.
like doing like I don't know where that even comes from, but I just have that. And then being so for in a restaurant, like honestly, we don't really go because it's it's embarrassing to like. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I'm just being honest, it's embarrassing to have to feed my child who's 7 years old, or like if I don't,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to make a mess all over like the restaurant, and then I'm on my hands and knees picking up after because I just don't have it in me to like leave that big of a mess for the waiters and waitresses, even though like that's their job, but like
Mm-hmm.
I feel guilty that we've made such a mess, and or if we bring the iPad, people look at us like, oh, what bad parents, like their kids on iPad during the whole dinner. But like the alternative is that he's literally running over to your
Right.
table and trying to grab the food off of your plate.
Right.
And so just understanding that like every parent kind of creates a construct and like rules and things for their life that work, and how they got there, like we have like no one has any idea. And so just like
No.
regardless of if a child has special needs or not, just kind of this idea that like everybody is navigating their life, their circumstances, and nobody knows what's happening in anyone else's
Mm-hmm.
household. And so I literally don't remember the last time I like have ever judged another parent in public. And I
Right.
think that I don't know that I did before I had kids or before I had William, but I consciously don't do it now.
Right.
Um, and I I think I give off an air in public, like not to fuck with me, basically. I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm. You can totally swear. I love it.
okay. And so like I have never encountered someone like
I can even
saying
talk to you about
anything
it.
or doing
Yeah.
anything. The amount of
Good.
times they have like played that in my head of like, okay, if this lady comes over to me, like this is what I'm gonna say, and like I just can like and that nothing has ever happened, like never, ever. So
Oh
I
my
think
God,
I
I
just
love
give
it.
off this air of like don't go talk to. But yeah, I think that that's probably the biggest thing, and then, like I said, I don't know if that's a misconception or just like a way of reframing things that I've learned
Yeah.
from being a parent and being a parent of children with special needs, and that it can just look different. Yeah,
I
the fact that he no one really now people are starting to say like we were in public the other day and someone was like, oh, is he on the spectrum? And like I think the fact that he brings his iPad everywhere now, it's like a visual cue to people. Like most people don't do that, I guess.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the children that you see that do have carry an iPad around usually do have some level of with them. At
Mm-hmm.
least that's what seems to be the clue to other people to say something to me like, "Oh, I know your kid has something."
Mm-hmm.
That's like recently been a theme.
Interesting.
Oh, and then they often will say like, "Oh, a nephew."
Oh.
has this, or I have a, my my this or my that, or I know someone, and they're doing great, and we'll pray for him, or it's like a lot of that recently, which it doesn't bother me, but it's interesting, and I think that the the difference is that he's carrying one of his
Interesting. And interesting that people come up and talk to you. I was just going to say, that doesn't bother you, or does that bother you?
No, it doesn't. And it's like, it's not really, so it's not like people coming up to us and
Yeah.
it's like, for instance, we were at an event, like with all these tables. And so we were
Hmm.
going like table to table, and I had what's called a wonderful wagon, which is, I don't know if you've seen them. It's like
No.
this giant, awesome wagon where I can put both the kids in, and it's like a real seat. It's not, I don't know. It's just like this real, and we always get comments on the wagon because people are like, oh my God, I wish that I had one of those.
Right. Okay.
Um, but so, other kids his age aren't in,
Mhm.
we upgraded to that from a stroller because he
Mhm.
physically fatigues,
Yeah.
and it felt like a more age appropriate thing.
Hmm.
Plus
Yeah.
I can put both my kids in it.
Right.
Um, and kind of keep them safe and contained, and not worry about him eloping and running off, and so we're like going from table to table, and it just like, I think in that, we were there for maybe an hour and a half, and in that time I think three people were like, oh, is he on the spectrum,
Wow.
or oh, he, I don't know, just a comment related to them meaning to tell me that they recognized that there was something different,
Hmm.
which is, like I said, something new for me. I
Hmm.
think there are a lot of parents of kids with special needs that get that more often if
Hmm.
their child presents more obvious
Hmm.
symptoms.
Right.
Um, and so, but I think because it was so long for us of not having that, and having
Hmm.
of like, almost feel like, if people just knew
Right.
how hard it was,
Right.
then they wouldn't judge us so much. And
Yeah.
so I almost think that now I'm like, I'm okay with it because I'm like,
Oh.
oh, okay, they know life is hard for me. They
Yeah.
know I'm not just sucking in life right now. And
Right.
I don't know. It's like validating. And it
Yeah.
feels terrible to say it, but that's what you.
Oh, I kind of love that. So if you were to tell somebody, like, I don't know, somebody that does not have a child with special needs, and if you were to give that person advice that interacts with your family or sees your family out and about, or that interacts with your son, is there any kind of like tips or thoughts that you would like them to have?
That's a really good question. Um, well, let me ask you
Mm.
back first. Is there, like, how would what would your first instinct be if you saw a parent navigating a challenging situation in general? Because I think that the biggest thing is just, words of affirmation are not even my love language, but like from strangers in the passing, I feel like the best thing that can happen is just like, great job,
Mm.
or see you, or like, just like not making it about the kid, and just like validating the parent in the moment, or
Hmm.
literally helping,
Mm.
like, not like, oh, can I help, but like, if I drop something,
Right. Pick it up, open the door, hold the door. Yes.
just like, I'm like holding the door.
Yeah.
Like, I've had the moments that stand out the most are like I was one time like really struggling to get my son into the car,
Mm.
and I just like heard somebody, I don't know if they were a mom or not, a woman walking by just saying like, I see you, you're doing a great job. And like, oh my gosh, I was just like, I like broke down. It was like
Yeah.
so just that's just what I needed to hear in that moment.
Right.
And so yeah, I think it's like anything that, and it's with any kid, right? Like you, I think that anytime you're like singling out a kid and like pointing out a difference,
Mm.
it's especially if you're a stranger. And if you're a friend, it's like it's just it's not the thing like parent wants to hear, you know.
I totally
Yeah,
agree. And
and
you're
like no
totally
one
right.
cares if they're if you're like, oh, I know someone that has literally they could say the same exact thing as
Hmm.
it's like okay, great. It, like literally could care.
Right.
Last, I don't have a conversation with you while I'm drunk, like
Right.
juggling. It's like you know, what I mean? Never gonna see.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
anyway. But yeah, I think it's just like just build just strength strength to the parent.
Mm. Mm.
Sometimes that can just be like because their arms are literally full because they just need like an encouraging word. And
I love
I
that.
try to do that to people too.
Hmm.
Like if I have the capacity, but also like recognize when I don't have the capacity and not try to do too much because sometimes I would like I would find myself like early on in the process like of being a parent and navigating this like still being in the mode of like wanting to be helpful to other people
Mm.
and like being in a situation where I was just like overwhelmed and seeing someone else struggle and like wanting to help them and then like helping them and then finding myself like not in an okay position. And so like
Right.
learning to not do that too and like know my limits
Yeah.
has been a journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is so critical. So, if you were to give yourself some advice, knowing what you know now, kind of right when you were navigating everything, what would that advice look like?
Um, I mean, every basically just understanding that being a mom is not your whole identity, and being a special needs mom is not my whole identity either. But I think that it makes me more of everything. Like it has made me
Mm.
better at everything in my life and put things into perspective. Um, and so like I think that sense of just like what is hard and being in different stages of life and you can have like the same scenario but be in a different phase of your life and be able to handle it so differently um and that's okay and like
Mm.
it doesn't like as you can get through anything if you know that there's like if it's not a permanent situation
Mhm.
um and like having a support system to help you navigate those things, whether it's a spouse or I'm super lucky that my parents both live here and are
Mhm.
super and that's I don't know how people do it without family.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know, I think I would figure it out, but like having that support system just really makes a big difference. And so like just telling myself to lean in sooner
Mm.
is a big thing. Like ask for help, know how to ask for help, know like who who to ask, and um like how to ask in a way that will actually result in something that you need. Like um with my mom, I can be
Hmm.
just very straightforward and quick, like, hey, I really need you to pick up this medication for me, or do this or do that. And having preemptive conversations with her ahead of time to say, like, if I ever ask you for something and you can't, like, I'd rather you say no and like respect your own boundaries.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to filter asking,
Oof.
worrying that you're gonna say yes when you should say no. So like I've had those conversations with my mom like throughout my whole life, but like especially
Hmm.
when navigating being a parent, like, and just because when you're in the thick of it, like the last thing you need is to like worry that someone you're asking for help is like going to go outside of their own capacity to help you and like not be okay with that. And so
Right.
um like we were super super fortunate to have my mom watch both of my kids for the first like year and a half to 2 years of their life. And so that saved us a ton of money,
Right.
ton of like like it gave her such a gift to be able to watch them. And um but I would check in with them, be like, okay, you're watching them this many days and this many hours, like, is that too much? Do we need to cut back? um and then you know it just feeling like I wanted to be able to still ask for like weekend or
Of course.
evening help and not feel guilty about it. And so I had to like talk to her about like, all right, please say no if you can't, but I don't want to not. And so like having relationships where you can like just truly ask for what you need and not fear that they're going to like say yes what they should say.
Yeah. And that is such a powerful example because you're right. I think coming to a place where you ask for help is hard on so many levels. And then if you have to worry about the other person that you're trying to get help from, you're totally right. I mean, that is such a worry. So the fact that you were able to establish some very clear boundaries and just like some clear roles in that relationship is really some good advice and
I
definitely
remember
helpful.
when I was pregnant, no, when I was postpartum, like breastfeeding and engorged and like just
Ugh.
going through that whole thing.
Yep.
Um, I remember calling one of my best friends, Alexis, and just say, and I had like just given birth. It was like a couple days out, like she hadn't met the kid yet. Um, and I was just like, I think I called her in tears and I was like, I am in so much pain right now. I don't want to tell you about the birth. I don't want to tell you anything. Don't ask me any questions. Just tell me, what do I do? Because she was the most prevalent example I could think of that would just give me like advice about what to do about the fact that I felt like my boobs were going to fall off and I like thought I was going to die.
Right.
Um, and I didn't know how to navigate it, and I like didn't have the capacity to look it up because my like your brain is so
A to-
foggy.
totally.
And she was just like, get the cabbage leaves, take the shower, like it's okay to massage a little bit, like I was reading things like, don't pump, don't do
Ugh,
this, do that. And I'm
I
like,
know.
I just need someone to tell me what to do. Like, just give me a
Right.
prescription of what to do. And like, she got me through that without asking me a ton of questions. And it was a quick call, and she gave me quick answers. And like, that's what I needed in the moment. And I
Right.
know she wanted more than anything to like hear about my birth story and to hear what
Of,
this is. And I
of
was just
course.
like, no, I don't have the capacity. I just need this.
No.
And she gave it to me, and I'm like forever grateful for it because I, I mean, engorgement is like, I don't even know like how to prepare anyone for that. But, and I just weaned off my daughter after like 15 or 16 months of breastfeeding, and like that was like the hardest week of my life.
It's
Like,
so
you know,
hard.
I don't like I yeah, I thought I was gonna die. Like day
I know.
5 and 6 when I still was super engorged, I'm like, what? I'm not going to make it. Like, I don't know. I'm just not gonna make it. And then
Totally.
suddenly I went, and I was like, oh, it is.
I know.
I made it.
You did. Thriving. Incredible. I would love to know from you, having such a big age gap, having, different types of experiences as a parent, how has that shaped you to be a parent to your daughter now with everything that you've gone through?
I am really relaxed. Like,
Mm,
I'm just, I don't, I have like no expectations. I'm
hmm
super grateful, and like I see everything she does. Like, I really see it as just amazing. Like,
hmm
I, yeah, I don't know. She just, with my son, like every single milestone that he has gotten to has been like so much longer that
hmm
I just like learned to appreciate the smallest things. I think more so than I ever would have if I would have had them in the reverse order.
hmm
And then having the gap, I think, allowed us to like understand William's just just who he is and like what he
Right.
needs. And it took us that long to figure it out.
Right.
Honestly, it's like what it looks like to parent him well.
hmm
Um, and so yeah, I think that the gap helped us to be better parents to my daughter. And my son's milestones, or kind of slower progression, people call them like inch stones. It's like
hmm
terminology um, for children that are developmentally delayed, but everything is just like such a win that now, like anytime she hits a milestone, like on time or early, I mean, honestly, she's like hitting everything early.
Wow.
But I'm just like so proud, and I think if I would have had them opposite, that I might have been too cocky of a parent and like
Mm.
been one of those people that, you know, everyone just hates for talking about their child all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, you know, it everything happens for a reason and God has a plan, but it's like, um, yeah, I think I needed that like just reality check. I don't know.
hmm
I think that I always had such high expectations for myself as a human being. I was always my greatest critic, like just like all the things growing up as an adult in my business, everything. And so I expected nothing less than to have just like rock star children.
Right.
Never thought that it would be anything else. And
hmm
he's a rock star. I'm not afraid to lie about that, but it looks different than, I
Right.
thought it would. And so I think it humbled me as a
Yeah.
person, and like just allowed me to like just kind of be more relaxed as a human being and as a
Mm.
mom.
Wow. What beautiful insight to have. And what a way to be able to experience both sides of that, like parenting coin.
It's it's it finally feels balanced.
Wow.
It's so hard. Parenting is hard.
So hard.
And And it's
Uh,
isolating too. Like even when you're surrounded by people and going through the same things, it's still like there's so many moments, right, of just like feeling isolated. I've heard.
when you have these two kiddos and you have a business and your husband also runs a business, tell
Mhm.
me about that. How do you do it all? Which I hate that question, but we got to know. How do you do it all? What does that world look like for you?
So if you're gonna run multiple businesses, have a child with special needs, have two dogs, run rental properties, have all these things, I highly recommend having ADHD. It really, it really helps. Um, but no, seriously, that's the only explanation I have is that
Wise words. You've heard
yeah.
it here first.
It just it I thrive on more things. Like my
Yes.
husband says that I'm gonna get it wrong, but something along the lines of like I'll I'll swim in the ocean but drown in a puddle, like referring to me. Like I the small things are what take me down, but I could handle like there was an instance recently where I had a presentation for work in the morning,
Hmm.
threw a
Hmm.
surprise party for my husband for his birthday. Um, my daughter had an ear infection,
Oh,
and then something was going on with my son too, and like that was like all in one day, and I was like, it, that I like felt more myself navigating all of those things at once and more capable than I do on like a low key day. Like the
right.
low key days are the ones that take me out. That allow me to just like realize that I'm tired and like want to take a nap. Like
Sure.
then I'm screwed. Can't get moving. You know what I mean? Like if I don't have too many things on my plate, then I'm just like, oh, I can relax, and then like I can't move. Then I'm like, oh, I sat down. Now I'm just
I'm stuck
terrible.
here.
Like I don't know what to tell you. Uh, so yeah, I only know how to function like all the things in there. That's it.
That is amazing and a superpower. So,
Yeah, it's I it's a difficult balance to like
yeah.
because there is a limit, right? Like
Hmm.
I can't do everything. And so I do have to say no to the
Hmm.
things that are not going to like fit into my family values or what is important to us at this phase in our life or like mm, identifying if I'm doing something for somebody else
Mm.
or for my family or for me. And it's okay if I do stuff for someone else only, but understanding like, okay, this is like intentionally doing it, knowing that it's serving that person more than me and being okay with that. Or saying no to things that I might have otherwise at like a phase of my life where I wasn't a parent and maybe had less going on, said yes to because I
Right.
wanted to like be supportive or
Right.
you know do this or do that. And so I generally like social events, but like it's just so tiring being a mom sometimes that saying no has been a lot easier after, being in this for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you
The
find that?
no becomes a little bit more clear.
Yeah. Like, no, just
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I have a
Exactly.
friend the other day, that was like inviting me to something, and like I could tell she didn't want to go either.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I'm not going to that. And she was like, oh, why? And I was like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like something that's going to give me life. And she was like, oh yeah, I actually don't want to go either. And like me saying I wasn't going, like gave her permission to not go in her own mind, I think too. Um,
Totally.
and it's that's like a learned skill. Well, some people don't. Some people are born with the ability to say no.
Mhm.
Um, you have to prioritize your own family and your own life in
Yeah.
a way that is different than when you're either single or um, don't have children or mm, your capacity is just different and
Right.
it has to change. Otherwise, you'll, right?
Totally.
Like,
Yes. So wise.
yeah,
Seriously. And you're totally right. And I think you're right. I think a lot of it is a learned skill. I think we are potentially born being able to say no. And then the world kind of like takes it from you. And then
yeah.
you got to refine it again.
I was thinking about not only was it something that my husband and I needed to accept, um, but an unknown I have is how are we going to talk to my daughter about this and about
Mm,
her brother? And obviously, she's, you know, not going to know any different. This is her
mhm.
brother. She loves him so much. But having like her acceptance journey, I'm sure is going to look really different.
Right.
And that's going to be really interesting to navigate. But I was also thinking about the grandparents and like the um, my husband's siblings and like really that ring of people and
Yes.
how they've had to accept, understand, talk about, verbalize, internalize their grandchild or their niece or nephew. And like they're often we protected those that layer of people pretty significantly with like not being super not sharing um you know every time he had a seizure because we saw what it did to them, like
Wow.
just their face, their heart, um but then getting to a point where like they they needed to understand and accept that this is the grandchild they have and this is what he looks like and taking care of him looks different and there needs to be a certain strength and understanding and um kind of like knowing what to do in an emergency situation if
Right.
we're leaving him with him. And so it's not just like leaving your child, like we can't just leave him with it. Like
Hmm.
they have to understand what to do if he has a seizure and you know what what he does to mean yes or no or if he has to go to the bathroom or like because it's not just words a typical child can use to communicate. And so there was like some level of like protection that we were putting out by not being super like open about what was happening sometimes with like that layer of family. And then sometimes we would be more open and we would see like how much it would hurt
Yeah.
just for them to see like their hear about their grandchild's struggles.
Right.
But then like seeing that they wanted to hear and they wanted to learn. And so that was difficult to navigate that level of acceptance too. And each one of them has like a different capacity of like what they can handle. And so like
Sure.
that felt pretty heavy on us too, and still does. Just like how like who to share what with and like what do we need to share for our mental
Right.
health and what is too
Right.
much for someone else to handle and just navigating that has been a pretty big and unforeseen change with yeah something I wasn't necessarily expected.
Do you get judgment from that circle of group at all?
We get a high level of support,
Okay, good.
and then a um, so it's a little bit hard for me to know because my
Mm-hmm.
husband's family is primarily Spanish speaking, and
Mm-hmm.
so like a lot of what I get back to me is like through him. They speak
Mm-hmm.
English too, but like the important conversations are often held in Spanish. And so and I don't speak Spanish. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know um, exactly what is being shared or felt. And so I rely a lot on my husband to carry that weight and to like share with me what's going on, what's too much, what's not enough. But it there's definitely I don't think judgment. It's not judgment. It's more like fear
Mm-hmm.
of something happening while in their care. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it- and like maybe not knowing what to do or um I, I think it's mostly that. And so yeah, I don't know. It's like and also it's like I said, it's physically really
Oh,
here. Like
totally.
you know, aging parents are, expecting them to pick up a 50-pound child
Wow.
who's acting like an alligator and flopping all over the place, not
Right.
speak for them or him.
Right.
So that's been um challenging to navigate, but like they're all super capable and all super willing and super supportive and no judgmental. It's just like
Wow.
I think putting to words too, like w- it took us a long time to say, oh, we have kid with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
And faster to me. And then, extending that out to the other circle of family. It's just like and honestly I guess I don't really know what they say to
Mm-hmm.
their family or strangers, but um, I have noticed like there's definitely different levels of like sharing across the board, like
Mm-hmm.
either super open or like doesn't want to say anything.
Right.
And then that extends to like either in denial. There was a lot of denial too, like not understanding that we can't do something because we have to honor a schedule or we have to, it's not safe or
Right.
and it wasn't their fault because a
Right.
lot was like we weren't sharing the struggles up to a
Mm-hmm.
certain.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we said no to something, like a Santa experience, for instance, it's
Mm.
like he literally doesn't care about seeing Santa. And it's really freaking hard for us to go and take him there and have him stand in line and do this and do that. And so, like, no,
Right.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
Um, we tried years and years, and like, it's just a no. But like, we weren't necessarily communicating that with
Mm-hmm.
everyone. So then, like, I don't know, just like understanding that I think has been a struggle. And then it, we still to this day have a hard time being around peers that are William's age that are like clearly doing things way different. And
Mm.
so there are like specific instances that are like especially hard for us. Like it would be really hard for me to go to a 7-year-old birthday party with a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of other 7-year-olds. We actually did that recently, and it was really, really hard. We had to leave early because I got emotionally overwhelmed the whole
Mm.
home. Um, and it was like it what it nothing happened. It was an amazing experience. No one like didn't. It just was hard to see other kids that were the same exact age just being so much further, doing things so differently. Um, and that I think will forever be hard. And like
Yeah.
I don't expect that to ever go away.
Mm.
But there are things what we really wanted to go to that particular birthday party because it's really close friend of ours. And so I knew it was gonna be hard anyway. And I don't regret it, but like there are some things I have to go to because I just know I would have felt too guilty not to go.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to leave it. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
but then there are other instances where like if we were to go to the neighborhood pool and there would be tons of kids playing around of all different ages and it wasn't
Right.
like specifically focused on that age group,
Mm-hmm.
then that doesn't bother me.
Right.
Like, I don't know any problem because he's
Yeah.
like fun, chasing them around, and
Right.
he like, kind of blends in.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to things that are his age group, and it just like it's like a big highlighter when all the things that he's not doing.
Mm.
That is just it's like too much. I think.
Mm.
So I'm really grateful like his classroom. I think that's why I
Mm-hmm.
love his classroom so much because it's kindergarten through fifth grade, and he's going to be in first grade. Now. He was like he's not doing the same things as all the other kids, but he's also younger.
Right.
So it's okay. And there are some things that he is doing as well, the other kids. And so like it's just it makes it easier to and that's why I liked his previous school too, because it was like I said, a developmentally
Mm-hmm.
inclusive school that was they were placed based on their developmental age, not actual age. I'm trying to think we went on a cruise recently that was
Oh my
like
gosh. Fun.
yeah, super fun. No, it was fun. But we like planned it for a long time and we brought a nanny with us, which just
Oh my
sounds so
gosh.
bougie, but like I could not have done it anyway
Right.
at that phase in our life with the kids we had. Um, and that allowed us to actually have them enjoy parts of their vacation and us enjoy parts of our vacation and not like have that sadness sometimes that comes with like William being in public spaces because we had the ability to like step away.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like I would love to have that more where basically I would love more instances where I could have William experience things and also protect my own feelings
Yeah.
because I'm like a pretty emotional person. So is my husband. And so like we don't want to not have him do the things, but sometimes it's too much for him.
Right.
It was a really good week because we had the ability to be right there with our kids when we wanted to, but also step away, which is like something we don't have in our normal everyday life. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like extra special because we were on vacation, but also we had this like other set of hands that was there just for us. And that was like really cool. And sometimes we
Amazing.
would have a band all the time. Um, yeah, it was that was nice and allowed us to actually do that for the for the
That's
kids and
so great. That's incredible.
yeah. Um, and we just but we just booked another trip for next month and
Good for
it
you guys.
but it's we're not doing we're not
Mm-hmm.
doing like a nanny or help this time.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's going to be fine because of how the kids have developed in the
Mm-hmm.
last year. Well, and so we went there. It's only been, I guess, it'll only be 7 months since our trip, but there's like a huge difference in the
I'm
last year.
sure. Right.
So now we're feeling like, okay, this is possible, this is capable, and we can do this without the extra help, which is pretty huge.
That's awesome. So, for you, if you were to
Yeah,
sum up parenting in one word, what would it be?
I feel saying like a bad word, but the word that's coming to mind is exhausting. Like
Yeah.
that's just what's coming to mind right now, and it's not to mean that it's always like that, but um, that's what it is right now in this season. Life is just like draining and exhausting.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
and
It is. Okay, what kind of parenting myth is out there that you wish would go away?
parenting myth.
Yeah,
Um, oh gosh,
I know.
what I don't even know what is like
So,
what
some that
is
people say is like, you don't have to breastfeed your kid, you can feed them formula. I
oh
think an iPad thing is a funny one that happens.
yeah, that's
Just
true.
kind of these like overarching ideas that maybe it was drilled into your head or you read somewhere or you felt like you needed to follow that just were not true.
Huh. Well, honestly, I don't really listen to it.
I love it.
So I don't have anything where I was like, this is like the way it has to be. So with everything, like even breastfeeding, like you mentioned
Mhm.
that as one.
Mhm.
Like I breastfed for a really long time. But I did
Mhm.
that for me, not because I felt like it was like what needed to happen. I just like needed it for myself. Um, and but yeah, the iPad one I think is a pretty big one, and it's not like just the iPad, but it's like the always never, like
Oh, love.
we're
Okay,
like
go.
the
Yes.
limit, and just understanding w- we are the parents,
Mhm.
like, and society's limits or like rules are like learning to listen and hear them, but then make our own rules and like be okay with that and not have to justify it is something I'm constantly navigating. But yeah, that specifically related to the iPad and being like, oh, this is actually William's safe space,
Right.
and like so if he's like in a room with other kids and another kid like wants to take away his iPad, it's like they're taking a piece of him. Like
Mhm.
and so being able to go to like the zoo, like we went to the zoo not too long ago and brought the iPad and most of the time he was on it. But then there was like a few moments where he like looked up and like was engaged and like wanted to interact. And then he went back into his comfort zone. And so like just understanding that for him, it's like it's different than it would be for my daughter, and that
Right.
we're not gonna have the same we're not gonna let her use it in the same way that he's using it
Right.
in every
Right.
way because
Yep.
they have different needs. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is like learning that not only can we make the rules for our own kids that are different from like your rules or my friend,
Mhm. Mhm.
anyone's rules, but that each of our children can have different rules that work for them that they need that we determine as parents. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's, I mean, is there anything like that with your two boys where like you very clearly do things differently and like you're okay with it, but maybe you weren't at first?
Totally. Almost everything. And
Yeah,
that's why the fact that you are saying like the learning is around the filter and the understanding that like you are that person is so like I wish I would have learned that earlier. And I
yeah,
still am like discovering it as we like move through. I think the thing that I really had a hard time with was judgment from people close to us and like very unnecessary judgment, but just the recovering people pleaser in myself like really had to
mm,
see some pieces that I thought were kind of healed and I was over that like really reared their head in this time.
yeah, yeah. That recovering people pleaser. I'm sure
Oh
people
my
is
God. Please.
like,
It's like a constant.
I don't know a mom that has been able to retain that level, like, throughout motherhood. Like, someone that was a
No.
people pleaser before, 'cause I would say that I was too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that can, like, maintain that same level of people pleasing while still navigating being it's, like, impossible.
It's impossible. And it is. It's so hard. And I think especially in the early years and early times, just like your example about calling your friend, being like, "What do I do?" Like I don't want to talk about it. Just like what you're a real person who's been through it. What did you
Yeah.
do? Like tell me what to do. I
And she could have
think
told me 100 times before
oh,
too. And, like,
totally. Yeah, it's like your ears weren't ready to hear it.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah, it's exactly those moments where sometimes when you're in a moment of uncertainty, you seek that out. And I did. And I definitely, had kind of broken through boundaries I had up for a reason. And then I was reminded about what those boundaries are.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah,
it's a wild time. Okay, final question.
yeah.
Where are you crushing it, Kortnee? Where are you just like, yes, I'm doing so good at this part. I deserve a pat on the back, a high
Oh,
five, a raise.
oh my God. I don't even know. I think just like advocating, finding, finding the things.
Mm,
It, it in such like I want to find a way somehow to like make that easier for other people once I'm through this, which I don't know that I'll ever be through it. Um, it was like yesterday, I just got my husband was like at the gym and somebody like knocked on his window and like was like trying to get him to donate to something.
oh,
And
God.
he took down the website and he sent it to me. And the website was like uh, advocating for children on the spectrum. And I was like,
Oh,
let me share this with like five other moms that I know that are going through this that might be able to benefit from a free iPad that they apparently give out 50 iPads a month across the United States. Like, okay.
what? Yeah.
I'm like, didn't know about that. Um, and so, I quickly shared with those five moms, but there's like, that's just such a small amount of people. Like, I want to be, like, I wish, and I don't even know what the right platform is for that because, like you said, like when you're needing something in that moment
Yes.
versus having a reference that you're like actively searching for,
Right.
I don't know. It's almost like I don't know if it's a local thing that would have been most helpful or what, but it's just like you don't know anything about the world of special needs, and then you're just dropped into it. And like you have to just find all the things. And there are so many resources out there that exist, but like knowing what they are is really hard. And so yeah, I think that I have crushed it at finding resources.
Mm.
Uh, and I would love to be able to share that somehow, some way in my future with a larger platform of parents that are navigating this locally in a way that would be super helpful to them and not like something that is just like a waste of my time and you know what I mean? Like
Right. That
just
like literally gives me goosebumps, Courtney. I
yeah.
feel like that's a
I don't
thing
know what
that
it
you
looks like.
have to do. Right.
Like I almost want like if the pediatrician that like started to identify this had some sort of a resource that they just like gave to me, like here are all of the clickable links,
Right.
not a printed thing, but like, and you can just reference it, and maybe it's constantly updated. I don't know, anyway, something is like that because I think that it's it's really hard to navigate, and I have an obsessive personality, and so I've found ways to find things that I think a lot of people don't find or know.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
love
I
it.
haven't from like any of them. There's just too many resources we've just like
Right.
life.
Right.
Um, yeah. Anyway, that's probably my biggest thing.
I love it. Well, I think it's like really evident. And thank you so much for everything that you shared today, Courtney. Really, it's an honor to have you. I can't wait to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Elsa.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.